It's not what you say, it's what you ask. You know the old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it? There's certainly some truth in those words, but we feel that building strong customer relationships that result in true loyalty involve much more than what or how you speak.
Today, there is a new breed of CRP who uses a more strategic resource than his or her mouth. They use their ears. Whether we are speaking with an upset customer, solving a problem, providing information, making a referral to a teammate, or identifying an opportunity, we need to follow a logical communications process to serve the customer in the best way possible. To do this effectively, we must clearly understand our customers' needs, our customers' objectives, and their situation before we can offer solutions. And depending on the situation, we may need to develop a clear strategy for how to orchestrate a conversation very early in our customer interaction. This requires us to ask great questions and listen carefully to the answers.
In Act 3, we ask the best questions so we can clearly understand the customer's needs and determine the best communication strategy for every situation. In the last module, Act 2, Leveraging Your People Skills, we discussed the importance of making a positive first impression. One of the ways we did this was by demonstrating our interest in our customer by asking rapport-building questions. These are the middle column on the Ask the Best Questions map. Many of the open-ended questions that we ask in this area are directed toward our customers' responsibilities and their background. Based on the situation, we may also inquire about such things as their company's role in the industry, what's new and exciting about their business, how their company is regarded, what they do best, or how they differentiate themselves from their competitors.
After we have established rapport and demonstrated our interest in the customer using Act 2 questions, our questioning will transition into the other areas on the Best Questions map. This is Act 3.
In Act 3, we ask questions that are on the right-hand and left-hand column of the Ask the Best Questions map. Based on the situation, we may not need to ask questions in every category on the map, but we will always ask open-ended questions to understand the customer's needs, and we'll ask questions to explore potential solutions. In some situations, we'll need to expand our questioning to understand several more categories of information. To explain the Best Questions map, let's assume that there is a need to gather information in all the areas on the map. First, in the right-hand column, we determine how we can better understand our customer's position as it relates to what potential solution will satisfy their needs and how we can resolve any issues that exist. Using the left-hand column of the Ask the Best Questions map, we can better understand our position as it relates to how we can most effectively present our solution to the customer. This is the strategy section of the Best Questions map. In some situations, we'll need to ask questions to learn what the best strategy will be to provide the customer with a great solution. Basically, during Act 3, we use the Ask the Best Questions map to identify what and how to satisfy the customer's needs.
A well-known principle of communications is that customers have a strong need to feel understood. Research shows that it is more important to a customer that they feel you understand their needs than it is that they understand your solution. To appeal to the customer's desire to feel understood, you must gain a deep-level understanding of your customer's situation. To do this, you have to ask questions that uncover both facts and feelings about your customer's situation.
In order to gain a deep-level understanding of your customer's needs, you will need to earn the right to ask deep-level questions. We use the CRP Best Questions funnel to accomplish this. To earn the right, you must start with broad need questions. An example of a broad need question is,
when you take a look at your current method and evaluate what is working well and what you'd like to improve, what comes to mind?
Once a broad need has been uncovered, drill down with specific need questions.
When this problem occurs, what kind of impact does that have on your company's ability to service its customers?
Once you have clarified the specific facts about the need, you can ask questions that will uncover the customer's feelings about the impact a solution to the needs will have on them personally. The questions that you'll use to do this are called leverage questions.
Leverage questions are fabulous communications tools because they encourage the customer to discuss their feelings about the potential solution. When customers are making a decision, they first decide emotionally and then justify their decision with logic. Broad and specific need questions provide the logic. Leverage questions provide the emotion. Think of leverage questions as opportunities to turn up the heat on a need. An example of a leverage question would be,
If this situation continues, what kind of potential consequences would this create for you?
using the best questions funnel, we will ask questions to gain an understanding of our customer's situation. Our open-ended questions will help us understand their needs and issues. Needs generally fall under two categories: problems to be solved and opportunities to be addressed. Using the questions funnel strategy, we must create questions that will identify facts about each problem or opportunity. Then we will drill down to clarify the corresponding needs or issues. Finally, we will want to prioritize each area that is identified. A good way to start is by asking a needs analysis starter question. This should be a broad question that gets the customer talking about their situation. Here's an example.
When you take a critical look at your current situation and evaluate the things that could be done better, what comes to mind?
The answer to this broad question will lead you to ask a specific open-ended question, such as,
When these challenges occur, how do they impact your company?
after your customer responds to your specific need question, you'll ask a leverage question.
Tell me how this problem impacts you personally.
Once you have identified the facts and feelings associated with this high priority need, ask another question that will help you find more needs.
What other challenges would you place on your list of priorities for improving your current situation?
You will use the questions funnel process of broad, specific, and leverage questions as you cover more categories on the best questions map. In the opportunities category, a good broad need question to ask about the potential opportunities that exist would be,
What growth opportunities is your company considering at this time?
assuming that you uncovered a need where your solution might be helpful, you would dig deeper with specific need questions and then ask leverage questions to pull emotion into the need for a solution.
For the company-related issues, ask questions to probe these areas.
What are some of the goals your company has established for this project?
You could follow this by asking,
What would you say is the most important consideration for your company in making this decision?
then, if a need surfaces where you have a potential solution, you could ask a question like,
What kind of an impact would a solution to this problem have on your department?
For personal issues, you want to gain a perspective on what's in it personally for the customer to solve these problems or capitalize on the opportunities.
What kinds of goals have you set for yourself that this project could help you achieve?
This could be followed by,
What would it mean to you personally if these goals are met?
or conversely,
What are the consequences of not meeting these goals?
and if money-related issues might exist, ask questions like,
In order to justify making these improvements, what sort of budget range would it have to fall in?
and if the budget range is low, ask,
If the budget needed to be changed, what would be the process to change it?
and another great question would be,
Once you have identified the right solution for your needs, what's the process to get funds approved for the purchase of it?
understanding your customer's position allows you to become more focused on the key targets when you present your company and the solution that will satisfy your customer's needs. This will happen later in the conversation during Acts 5 and 6.
We realize that many CRP situations do not require an extensive questioning process. However, in some situations during Act 3, we may need to better understand our own position. This will help us determine the best strategy for working with this client. To do this, we use the left-hand column of the questions map titled Your Position. Here we will ask the customer questions about other options they may be considering, the decision time frame, and the decision influences that will be involved in making the decision. You may need to ask questions about some or all of the categories in the left-hand column. Assuming you do, let's look at examples of questions you can use for these categories. If competitive options are being considered, it's important to know your status with the prospect as compared to your competition.
What other solutions are you considering for this situation?
If several are mentioned, ask,
At this point, what are you considering most seriously?
then determine their strengths
What do you like the most about that solution?
and their weaknesses.
Considering the fact that there is always room for improvement, in what areas do you feel this solution could be improved?
Then get a perspective of where you stand with the competition.
Based on what you know so far, where do you position my company's solution in relation to others you're considering?
That question may trigger a clearer understanding of your position in relation to other solutions. Time frame questions help you determine strategy and set priorities.
Please explain to me what kind of time frame you're working with.
To determine their level of urgency, ask a leverage question about what would happen if they didn't meet that time frame.
What would be the consequences if you failed to meet that deadline?
Then you'll need to identify all the decision influences.
Who, besides yourself, will be involved in making this decision?
Follow up with asking what kind of input they will have.
What role will they play in the overall decision to select a solution?
These questions will help you more clearly understand your position. You'll be able to determine the best strategy for understanding exactly who to speak with, when to have the conversation, and what solution to present to your customer. Notice there is one category remaining on your questions map titled Commitment Objective, Same or Change. No, it's not a question you would ask the customer. It's a question you would ask yourself. Now, based on the information you just gathered regarding the competition, time frame, and decision influences, you need to ask yourself if the commitment objective you set in Act 1 is still appropriate. Perhaps you'll have to move faster or slower in your decision process based on this information, or you may need to talk with someone other than the person you were speaking with to reach the actual decision maker. Now is the time to evaluate your Act 1 commitment objective and adjust it if necessary.
Always refer to the Ask the Best Questions map when you plan your customer interactions. If time permits, it is a good idea to prepare a potential list of questions using the Best Questions map and the Best Questions funnel. When you ask the best questions, you help your customer clearly identify for themselves their own decision criteria, and that puts you well on your way to a successful customer conversation.
It's not how you say it, and it's not just your ability to respond to a customer inquiry that is the most important. It is your ability to ask the best questions that makes the difference between success and failure. Why are questions the most important communications tool? Because the best questions demonstrate you are interested in the customer and allow you to become a good listener. This helps you accomplish the first customer communications challenge, which involves a positive decision about you. The best questions also identify the targets for your solution and help you to strategically plan your customer communications approach and adjust your commitment objective if necessary.
Most importantly, the best questions will help you find the ways to differentiate yourself, your company, and your solution from your competition. Once this is accomplished, the decision process becomes much easier to manage.
In our next module, we'll take a look at some additional examples of how asking the best questions can be your most powerful customer communications tool.